Hello and welcome to the Let That Shift Go podcast. I'm Noel.
And I'm Lena.
And this is where we talk about the good, the bad, and all the shift in between.
We'll just talk mad shift.
Let's get into it. And on this week's episode, I don't want to shift alone.
Shifting alone sucks.
Yeah. I mean, so we're going to talk about a men's circle that we're kind of collaborating and creating called Conscious Stewards. Yeah. Really just trying to build community of men to share and create a safe container for other men to come and share what they're going through and shift together.
Yeah, build community, a safe community of just being able to get together, still be dudes, totally. Yeah. It's not woo-woo stuff, really. It's just getting together with other people who are maybe on a similar journey, like-minded, and the importance of that.
Yeah. But first, let's get into these skin deep cards and see if we can
let's open up a little
bit first. You want to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
What do you think is the hardest thing for me regarding family?
What is the hardest thing for you regarding family?
I mean, I already have something in my mind, but I want to know, what do you think the hardest thing for me?
I think, oddly enough, it's connecting with everybody else, in the family. I think between me and you, we've connected pretty easily because I don't know, there's some sort of sign that we wanted to connect, but I think just similar like with Annie, I think you seen a little bit more of an open side with her, and it was like, oh, there's an opportunity here. And I think maybe being a little bit more or a little bit more proactive with connecting with
other people,
not just like your kids, because we've been doing a lot of that, but I think some of the other siblings and things like that, I think that's where.
Yeah. I think I get pretty tied up with what I'm doing at work, or what I now call work, and really connecting with kids and, people in the immediate vicinity. But I notice like, oh my gosh, there's actually this beautiful opportunity with someone else in my family that we hold history together. And why are we not taking that opportunity to go a little deeper?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good point.
I find helpful to I just challenge myself to call one person a week.
Yeah. You're so good at that.
Yeah. I mean, well, I've got tons of time while I'm at work. I've got my Bluetooth headphones in. And so I'm just like, I could work on autopilot. So if there's a place where I'm not, or a time when I'm not doing a repair or something, intense, I can just have a conversation while I'm, doing my work.
I love that you use your drive time, which is so valuable. Like you use drive time to call family too, because if you're just sitting in your car, like right now, if someone's sitting in their car, they could actually just be reaching out to a family member and saying, hey, how are you doing?
Yeah. Well, I really I get stuck in traffic a lot, right? It's part of my thing. And I just make the best of it. It's like, on my way home, if I'm in traffic and it's going to take me an hour to get home, well, that's me time.
Yeah.
I could do whatever I want. Of course, I'm in my car in traffic, but that's like a preconceived idea that it's like this bad thing.
Yeah, it's a punishment.
But I listen to podcasts, or I'll listen to an audiobook, or I'll call somebody and just like, hey, I've got this. They're on my heart. And I don't know why, but I'm just going to give them a call. And sometimes it almost always works out great.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I've been thinking about you or something like that. So I don't know. I maybe challenge you to maybe once a week call somebody you haven't called in a while.
Okay. Will do.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. My question is, what do you think are my top 3 priorities right now?
Your top 3 priorities right now. Your family. Your marriage. And your mental health.
Yeah.
I think those are your top 3.
It's pretty solid that way. And I think though, the way that you mentioned them, family, marriage, and then myself, I've had to actually switch those. I got to put myself first.
Yeah. I love that. That's true.
You know what I mean?
It has to come first.
Yeah. Even the way you said them, I was like, but that's not first. It was, initially before kind of coming into this arena of awareness. My focus was always giving my kids what I didn't have, and then whatever, trying to, be the best version of myself for them.
Yeah, for them.
Yeah. But not
what you thought was the best version of yourself for them.
Yeah, but I was really sacrificing a lot of things.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't speaking my truths and I was trying to prove a lot of worth, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Definitely mental health first.
Yeah.
Yourself first. And then the rest of it trickles down, actually.
Yeah. But I like how you called them out so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Because it makes me think that you're seeing me.
I'm paying attention.
You better be.
I am paying attention.
All right. So let's get into this Conscious Stewards men's circle. And kind of the reason why I was really called to, it was on my heart to start something because I found that, growing up, I really didn't have a lot of opportunities to share with other men, anything deep or anything, just, anything more than sports or guns or mountain biking or whatever, whatever the daily things would be. We always just touch on the surface, but
dune buggying.
Yeah. And those are great things. I mean,
Yeah.
I really connected with a lot of my friends on those things. But the older I've gotten and the closer I've gotten to what I would call my midlife crisis and shedding this armor of, and trying to become more vulnerable, it's become pretty difficult. And it almost is felt isolating in a sense because the more that I've shifted into
An aware state.
an aware state, the more I don't know if it's scared. I don't know how people are going to receive me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because even when I was looking at you and Armando, I felt like it was like super woo woo. Like, what are they talking about? And it wasn't until I started to do my own work that I was like, there's something there.
Yeah. What is an aware state to you? What does that mean? Because we talk about awareness, but like, what is, if you were to define what is awareness and how that's changed you, how would you describe that?
Well, you always say it's like the pause between stimulus and response. And right there, that pause is awareness. And I've always just kind of lived, in the moment, I guess. Well,
more reactive?
I can't say that I lived in the moment. Yeah, I was just reactive. And highly triggered all the time. So, I mean, coming into awareness really was just a way of just settling down and really thinking about.
Like a mindfulness?
Yeah, like how I was going to respond and or how I'm feeling about, a current situation, and really trying to unplug that amplifier and turn down the volume of old stories to the new or to whatever's happening right now.
Right.
So I think that's what the awareness is for me. But I've started to feel everything seems to feel stronger. Like now that I'm allowing I'm not really blocking or repressing any of these feelings. Man, it's just, I tend to get pretty emotional really easily. And it's just, trying to regulate that.
Yeah.
And not letting those peaks and valleys kind of, go to, just trying to stay pretty neutral. And practicing that muscle of staying neutral, I think is where my awareness has been.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty isolating because when I have talked to some people, or if I've posted anything on social media, sometimes people will reach out like, "Are you okay?
Oh.
I mean, is everything cool?" Or, "Hey, you can contact me anytime. I'm here for you." And I was looking at more of just like me sharing and me being vulnerable and me being happy about, not having to have shame on all these things. And it was like, no, man, like I'm not depressed. I'm leveling up. You know what I mean? I'm letting this stuff go and I'm leveling up. It's not about like, oh, woe is me. It's just speaking about real things, and people just it's so different than what I've been in the past to my group of friends. They've just never seen that from me before. And, they're like, oh man, like when I went to, gay pride with my son, I posted a couple of pictures, and some of my circle of friends, posted a picture and they're like, dude, 1993 Noel and 2023 Noel.
Whoa.
This is nothing I've ever thought would happen. And it was a little bit of a jab towards me is the way I took it at first. And it was like, but when I really thought about it, it was like, no, he was actually paying me a compliment because, he did afterwards. But it pulled a string at me, and it was like, it just feels like there is some tension. And the sarcasm holds some this form of sarcasm that this particular person used, I'm sure had some resonance of truth to it.
Yeah.
And so that's why it maybe touched me a little bit more. But I find myself pulling away from the tight circle of friends that I've had, because we were like, we had things like, oh, we're going to go to a beer festival and go try as many beers as we can and just get as plastered as we can. And it was a great time. I mean, we had epic times, but those were all just numbing for me now that I look at it, And so I'm really looking for a different type of community, because some of those friends they're just not in the same level of awareness, or maybe they're not interested in it. Yeah. And I'm not interested in pushing it on them.
No, it's not.
So I'm really just looking for, a community of other men who are kind of along the same path. Looking for road dogs, if you will. You know what I mean? Like, I've had so many road dogs where we take road trips and we'll, do whatever and have fun. But I'd like really, a road dog on this journey to awareness and becoming my authentic self, and really trying to just reach my potential and remove those limiting beliefs that I have and held so tightly for so long. And yeah.
And I think if you were feeling that way on this journey, then you've got to know you're not the only one, and that there are a lot of people that are probably feeling isolated when they are going through a shift and in kind of changing, their level of awareness and what's going on, and bringing a lot of light to what has been in the dark for a while. And, the same group of friends you had when you were doing all that or going through all that is not necessarily the same group of people that can support you through this next change.
Yeah.
And that's not, to say anything bad about them. It's just not where you're at.
No, I love them. They're all great friends.
Yeah. But your options are to stay in that vibration or to be able to allow yourself to continue to grow.
Yeah. Cause I've got some big things that I'm really working through. I've got a lot of things going on with work, and I'm in school right now, and just the whole life thing and marriage. There's so much on my plate, but I really feel like I have to focus on myself. And so I've limited those excursions or those things. I mean, there's things that I need to get back into. Like, I would mountain bike 3 days a week before, and now I haven't done it in probably 3 months. And it's something that calls to me, and I get a lot of enjoyment out of that. And that used to be my meditation, was just bike riding, because I get into a flow state and I just go.
You didn't realize you were doing breath work?
No. And
during mountain biking?
I have a really good friend, Sean, who I rode bikes with forever, and we would ride 3 days a week and spend 3-4 hours riding every time it would be a 3-hour trip. And so we connected on a lot of things, and we talked pretty deep on different things, but I was really looking for something a little bit more. And the more that I've been sharing and going into different communities and containers, I've just seen like other people have containers within their communities that support them. And it's really a collaboration of men. It's not as if I'm trying to, start this whole thing and I have it all figured out. I'm really looking for collaborators and other men that I can learn from and share ideas, because I find the more I share my story with other men and other people in general, the more different perspectives I get.
Yeah, you grow.
Yeah, and I'm growing just listening to other men speak about their situations and their plights and what they're going through, and just going, man, I'm not by myself here.
Yeah.
Other people are kind of going through it. And anytime I've mentioned doing a men's circle, there's been plenty of people who are like, dude, let me know. So I finally said, well, I think I should just do it.
Yeah. At some point, you just got to put a date on the calendar and be like doing it.
1, 2, 3, go.
Yeah. And there's not have like a big, an itinerary that's like, at this moment, we're going to do this and this, and it's going to be about this. It's just like, hey, you're just a group of guys probably going through some similar stuff who might really have some awesome perspectives to share.
Yeah.
Because everybody's at a different place on their journey, or maybe you guys have all learned different things. And when you can get together and collaborate, then all of you together can rise, and grow. Yeah.
It's a collective mind group, that to support each other. And I don't think it's an easy thing, because there's not a lot of men that are seeking that, or maybe there is, and I just don't know about it.
I think there's more than we know.
Yeah. Well, it's been difficult to get community so far. So it's been a great surprise and a blessing to see, to get such great feedback now that I've posted it. And I'm really excited and looking forward to this upcoming men's circle and really seeing what we can do with this. And
what kinds of things do you want to do in your men's circle? What are your plans?
Well, breath work for sure, and I feel called to do some breath work and share this experience of breath work with people, just to give somebody or some people tools like I have and the benefit of breath work, and maybe just share that with them.
Yeah.
I have a friend, Steve Elder, who is going to do some Qigong, which is, a real masculine form of yoga. I would think he would be able to speak more onto the history of it, but it's really where yoga really stemmed from. Mm-hmm. And so I just felt like it was a good masculine way to kind of move some energy and bring movement and just kind of connect with ourselves. Because I think bringing stillness and pause and finding ways to ground ourselves are so important, because most of us don't have the ability to do that.
Yeah. And
so I think really what I would like to focus on is just, doing some breath work and some movement, and then also sharing some circling techniques and how to communicate better and things like that. Just to.
How would you describe circling technique for people who have never heard of it? Because I love circling. We both learned it in Fit for Service. It was, something that was presented to us, and it was like mind blowing to me to see the ways that we don't communicate, or that, the way that we just unconsciously speak and are not listening. Mm-hmm. So why is it something you thought would be important to bring into a men's circle?
We talk a lot about like listening to hear, and that sounds like it should be obvious, but it's not. Mm-mm. And the circling technique I found gave me some great tools to be able to listen and shut myself down without trying to interject into the conversation, but just really listen to hear what that person is saying, and then repeat that back to them in my own summary of like, this is what I'm hearing, and try in my best way, repeat what they had told me.
Yeah.
And it really, I find when that was done for me, I really felt like I was being witnessed, like that person that I didn't even know.
Seen and heard.
Yeah. It was like, wow, this person gets me. But it was really, we don't talk like that. We don't have conversations on a daily basis where we're allowed to speak authentically or speak our truths, and then have somebody repeat to us what they heard us say.
Mm-hmm. And then ask you.
And then ask me a deepening question. Yeah. And asking that deepening question, and you've touched us on this before, it just really, it reinforces that person is listening and wants to know more, and it's not a burden to them. And it gives you the opportunity to, maybe express more or feel even more seen or clarify something there.
Yeah.
So I think that's the real basics of the circling technique. There's plenty of other things and exercises that we do, walking around and asking questions. We would just set preset questions, eye gazing at each other for a minute.
Yeah.
And looking at another human being that maybe you do or don't know, without saying anything and just staring is confronting.
It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It can be super awkward. You can feel all the stories in your head, as you're sitting there looking at someone like, oh, what do they think about me? And maybe they didn't want to have to be standing next to me, and what am I going to say? And then pretty soon the mind just starts to
Yeah, and all of that is this distraction from actually listening or paying attention or trying to feel the energy from the other person. You totally shut everything out because of your own inner dialogue.
Right.
And so I think the circling technique is exercising the muscle of listening, like truly, truly listening, which, like I said, I think most people think that they listen, but not on the level that we should. And in a way that communicates back. You may be able to listen, but I think that the important step is repeating what the person just said to you.
And asking for confirmation.
And asking for
right?
confirmation and also a deepening question, because that step is always so missed. We just overlook that so often. Mm-hmm. And I think if we can get in a community and make this a practice where we do this with each other often, it builds
that muscle.
It builds that muscle. And so we can take this, tool that we're learning in this group and take that into our everyday lives and just improve ourselves. And that's really, I'm really looking to level up, with a bunch of other men and raise each other
Yeah.
and help each other just, be our best versions of ourselves, for the highest good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The good of all.
Yeah, the good of all. So yeah, I think I want it to be fun. I want it to be, I've seen how you've done like women's retreats or women's, it's not
circles.
Yeah.
And for her. Yeah.
And I was inspired. I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I think women, this is a huge judgment, but I think women generally open up with each other more than men do.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was watching it just seemed so natural for you guys, or for you women, I should say,
Yeah.
To share in that way. So it was great to see, parts of that and see how much it was helpful for women. And I think it's really missing in a lot or most of men's lives.
Yeah.
Is a place where we can be vulnerable and share.
Yeah.
And maybe have somebody listen and hear things that we need to be heard on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because it's not really something that's taught, to us as kids.
No.
Is that, boys will be boys.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't talk about this or that. But that doesn't mean that men or boys don't have emotions and things that they're trying to work through. They just don't have an outlet to be able to do it.
No, we're constantly told like, shut up, stop crying, don't be a baby,
Be a man,
stop acting like a girl,
man up. Yeah, and it's like
man up, walk it off, like stop crying.
Yeah.
It's so many times that was told to us. So we were taught actually to just repress all of our feelings, and so that's when we built all that armor up, and now I find like what I'm starting to build the mental capacity to handle those deeper and harder emotions. And so I'm trying to shed those steel plates that I've had since I was a little kid that were protecting me.
Yeah.
And, that wall of intelligence that I built.
Yeah.
And so I'm starting to tear those walls down and, having somebody to share with or have community and speak about these things with is just so empowering because the more I've done it, the more I've shared, the better I feel and the more weight has been lifted off of me,
Yeah, and I've watched even the men around you be able to grow themselves. Like men in our family who have been able to have conversations with you, who've known you one way and probably felt like you were the last person that they could ever share a vulnerable thought with, or an emotion with or a fear with.
Yeah, because I was so sarcastic and I had the ability to just tear you down verbally.
Oh, man. It's like, do not show weakness in front of Noel. He will exploit it at all costs. Mm-hmm. And to see you be this person now who's able to do that and still be you.
Yeah.
Still just be as masculine as you are, but also to say, yeah, this is also masculine.
Yeah.
Actually, to be able to share your feelings and to talk about shame and to talk about anger and, is actually the most masculine thing that you can do.
Yeah, well, asking for help has been perceived as weakness. And so I've never been able to really ask in that way. So I think right now me sharing, especially coming from or thinking about how other people viewed me was such a contrast to where I am now. And it's just it's inspiring to me that other people are seeing that change and feeling called forward in a sense, you know. So,
like they're able to share their own stories and are doing so in a way that's really healthy for them because you're giving them the space to do that without judgment.
Somebody's got to go first.
Somebody's got to go first. And I'm glad that it was you, because if they, they're looking around like, if that guy can do it, maybe there's something to this.
I hope that's the case.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, that resonates with me. And I think that hopefully that's true, that the people that have seen me in that light and have
known you
me one way can now see me in another light and then, feel like they have the opportunity to speak like I am as well.
I think it's just, giving other people permission, maybe that they wanted all along.
Yeah.
And a safe place to do it.
Yeah. And listen, I'm not recommending anybody just goes out on social media and puts their stuff out there like I have, but, at least in a safe container,
Yeah.
And that's what I think the difference between what I've done by sharing outwardly and on social platforms can be, that was just my path and what I chose to do. But in the men's circle, I really feel like it just needs to be a safe container. A lot like, I think about 10 or 11 years ago, I was brought to an Al-Anon meeting, which, it was AA. I was like, I'm not an alcoholic. And why do I got to go something like this? And my friend was like, Abigail was like, no, this is for family members who are affected by alcohol and what their experience was. And I was like, I'm not living there anymore. And so when I went to this group, I thought, well, I'm not going to share. I'm not standing up. And she's like, okay, just sit with me. And I'm like, okay. And so I go into this room and with all these people, and everybody was just so nice. And it was just not what I expected. I was so nervous, and people got up to share and started telling stories. And man, I was just moved because I was like, there's so many people here that have experienced so many things that I've experienced living in a household with addictive, personalities or drug abuse or drug addictions and alcohol addiction. And they were sharing so many things and so many beautiful stories. And I was just like, oh my God, it came around and I stood up and I just shared.
Yeah.
And my friend was like, what are you doing? You said you weren't going to talk. And I just shared something from the heart, and it was just so moving, and it felt like such a release.
Wow.
And, I went to that for a little while, and it was so empowering, and it led me onto this path of self-discovery and just diving into myself. So I'm so grateful for that opportunity, for seeing other people's bravery and sharing. And that type of community is a lot like what I would like to be involved and collaborate here with the Conscious Stewards.
Well, I love it. I'm so glad you're, doing it here at Serenity Cove.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to welcome people to the property out in nature and just being able to be a safe place for people to have community, to get encouragement from one another, to collaborate and to connect, because connection is so important to us as humans.
Yeah.
Sometimes we really overlook that, but there's something so healing about being able to connect and being able to see another person and say, I am that too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I am that too.
I am that too.
I'm learning to walk in my own fire right now, and to have some other people to help, guide me through there or just lean on each other would just be tremendous. And what I felt from that meeting 10 or 11 years ago,
planted a seed.
Yeah, planted a seed, and it took a long time to grow, but it's here, and I can't wait to share it with other people, and just give people a safe space. Yeah,
at wherever they're at on that path.
Yeah, wherever you're at, you don't have to be where I'm at.
Yeah,
and it's a small community that I think of powerful men.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's going to be, the first one is going to be on August 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. here at Serenity Cove in Temecula. Mm-hmm. But if you're listening to this afterward, we do plan to do them monthly, and you are welcome. And I think that it would be very beneficial. If you know of a man in your life that may benefit, just send him this podcast or send him to our website at serenitycovetemecula.com. And we are open for your questions and comments. And let us know what your questions are. We'd love to include them on another podcast. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you, brother.
Love you too. All right. That's been another episode of Let That Shift Go podcast. I'm Noel.
And I'm Lena. Let us know what your questions are, and we'd love to use them on a future episode. Or check us out on Insta at Let That Shift Go, or visit our website, serenitycovetemecula.com.